let's go, let's go, let's go. Okay. Hey, man. Joe, this is Coffee with Paul and
Joe. I think I'm running low. I got like 2 sips left, but
brother, you better handle that. Handle that.
I'm good. It's handled.
My man. This is my first cup, man. I'm really excited about this. I'm like, it's tasty too. A little bit of brown sugar. So Joe, we just so for everyone watching, if you're in relationship and you're having challenges getting to that next level, getting to vulnerability, learning what vulnerability means for you, and learning what intimacy really is, this is going to be a conversation you want to listen to.
Oof, yes. If you have a beating heart and you are in connection with yourself, other people, listen to this whole thing, man, and send it to the people you love. We haven't even done it yet, and I know it's going to be rich. Let's do it. Let's go, man. Where you at?
So this is what's up, right? I'm doing a workshop called Into Me See.
I've seen that, yeah.
And I like, whenever I do a workshop, I like to get field data as I'm putting it together. So I've been asking people about what intimacy means to them.
Right.
And as I'm asking, I'm really defining what that means for me. And I always look at definitions, and when the definition of intimacy, it comes from the word, the Greek word I think is intima, which is inner or the core. And I notice in intimacy, there's definitely varying degrees. Some people say connection. Some people think it's physical.
Yeah.
And the thing that I wanted to run by you, especially you're in dating now. I'm in a relationship. And something that came up this weekend, or actually the past several weeks, was there was a sticking point in my relationship, and I had to dive into what was really going on so I could be intimate and vulnerable with my partner.
Right.
And I didn't, Joe and I were talking a little bit before the call. It's so in depth, because learning the tools of intimacy and more importantly, the tools of vulnerability, digging deep into what's inside. Yeah. And then being able to express it to another so that they can get it, or at least you can build conversation. So that's, to me, intimacy. So let's start it off. What's intimacy to you, as you're, especially in the space, or with the space that you're in right now?
Yeah, well, intimacy to me is just, it's like having the capacity to know yourself first, right? And then other people in really deep human levels. So, and to share a connection that actually is vulnerable. It's authentic. It is risky. But ultimately it's at like coming closer and closer to the core. It's like knowing myself, knowing other people I'm in a relationship with, at a place where we aren't really relating based on the masks, the stories, the beliefs about who he should be, she should be. And we're really seeing the person and feeling ourselves when we're present with someone, even if we're thousands of miles away, just like being there with someone. So it takes a lot. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but to me, that's a simple way of it. It's like knowing yourself and knowing others at a really rich level that's well below what we often present at first or present in the world.
What do you see as, whether it's from your experience or your experience from coaching others, what do you see as the blocks to having intimate relationship?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is just that we are taught a lot in our world growing up, through culture, through school, through family system. We're not taught what the fuck relationships really are. They're the most complex and important thing that we experience in life.
True.
Period. I'm just going to say that. And I say that like very solidly. I believe that. The most complex, one of the most important and most challenging things we experience in life. And everyone just goes about this unconscious way of doing it as if we're just supposed to know automatically. So that's the first block. No one says, Maybe you have great parents and they go, all right, Joe, here's the deal. We got to know about these love languages, Joe. We got to know about how to
Love
listen.
languages.
We're going to talk about vulnerability and how to be able to share vulnerability from a place of strength and heart and deep connection. I mean, my future kids are going to get that shit, but who else is doing that? We're not being taught. The second big block is it's just scary, even when you're taught and you have the skills, to be really authentic with yourself. First of all, I say this all the time. Some people just don't hire me. Well, they don't like the price tag. But the second thing is they don't want to take the deep, deep look that they know it's going to take week in, week out. And the confrontation existentially, emotionally, interpersonally, that comes from going, hold on, I'm asking the hard questions. So we don't like to look deeply into our truth, deeply in ourselves. And then for guys like you and me, where we're like almost addicted to it, the next block, it's just scary. It's just scary to open it up to other people.
Yeah, bro.
Like I've said, like we've talked about, I find myself on these dates and like I'm finding a way to be in connection with some amazing women who like have the capacity to draw out vulnerability in me. And as deep and as clear, I can do it on the camera with you. And then I'm sitting there going, ooh, this feels harder in my body in this moment with this woman than it does on camera, than it does in my men's. So like in this place of wanting to be loved, wanting to be liked, it just feels still scary, even in the body, even for someone like me who's practiced it continuously. So there's a lot of blocks, man. We're not taught. It's confronting to go deeper into self, and then it still is hard and can even be physically challenging, can hurt almost to want to really expose oneself, to reveal oneself, you know?
Oh, yes, I do know. Because I had a situation this weekend. Diving, first of all, being taught. We talked about this a little bit this morning. You know, Joe and I both attended a New Warrior training adventure with the Mankind Project, and we learned tools that are continue to reap benefits.
Right.
And for in this specific situation, it's around emotional intelligence and conscious communication.
Yeah.
And you know, the relevance of this past weekend, being able to know emotionally what I'm feeling. Like you mentioned when you were just talking about the blocks, being able to be in the body in a situation and then know like, wow, I'm feeling this here. Like it feels like sadness and grief. Well, what is that about? Oh, I'm feeling the residual effects of a past relationship where I felt something similar and she left me.
Right.
And I was devastated. And I'm going to put up my armor though.
Yep.
Because I'm not going to go through that again. And when you talk about not being taught, we are taught, throw your shield up, son.
Oh, yeah.
Throw your shield up. It's like...
We are taught that. And I'll tell you, I've been taught, and I firmly believe in all of my heart and all my mind, not to do that. That doesn't mean it's still not happening very automatically.
Right.
Protect the heart, protect the spirit, the psyche. I interrupted, but...
No. Listen, this is why we do this. This is a conversation, like, especially as people are going through this. I think it's important for them to realize, like, these things that, like, the armor and you know, listen, we protect ourselves. It's our body's nature. We have an injury, the body compensates to protect itself. Our mind creates thoughts to protect ourselves from fear, the uncertainty. The thing that's important to realize is that when it comes to intimacy, it's for me anyway, it's being able to be in my space. You mentioned this before, touch that space within me where I was like, oh, wow, that's deep. Okay, this is what's coming up for me right now. Okay, being able to explain that to another person and be completely open to whatever the result is. Not be attached to like, she's going to reject me. Or I'm just like in my head, she's going to reject me. She's not going to accept this. This is got blah, 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 blah. And so having that piece to communicate, then having the courage to be an active listener and communicator. So what I mean by that is like when I was explaining something, I had to ask, so love, tell me what you heard.
Oof.
Tell me what you heard. Because now when we're talking about intimacy, like I'm going to look inside myself, okay, and I may be projecting some stuff on my partner, but now as I'm relaying something, if I'm really being conscious, if I'm saying something, if I ask my partner, hey,
Yeah.
so tell me, what'd you hear? I can get a better sense of how they're interpreting my information, what's going on for them, like what their projection may be.
Right.
And that in itself is another level of intimacy because now we're getting to a base.
Right. And the
Foundation.
intimacy, the really intimate thing here is that not only are you sharing what's vulnerable for you and what's challenging for you, and you're doing it in a very conscious way with thoughtful communication. The
Mm-hmm.
intimate part to me is, okay, can I step back from my own hurt or my own sadness or my own desire for what I want to be different right now? And in this moment, ask that question that you just talked about. And in this moment, actually care what the impact is on her. Like that is intimate to me, to be feeling like, well, okay, I'm trying to care for myself in this moment, but right now I need to actually switch the gear, flip the script, take the compass and turn it one direction or something,
Right.
so that I can now be able to want to know what the impact is on her and what she's hearing. And not just be in the mode of trying to convince and trying to change things for my own pleasure, my own benefit, my own safety.
Right.
Like, having that real two-way street is so hard. To me, that's that intimate moment.
Yes.
You ask and you listen and you care.
Something just came up for me as you were saying this, and I want to just put this out there for people that are watching. When we're talking about intimacy, it's not just in relation to a romantic relationship.
Mm-mm.
Okay. This could be with, you can have the intimate relationship with friends, family, coworkers. It's not about physical contact. It's about, as
Right.
Joe and I are talking about, it's having that vulnerability and relay of information and connection.
Right.
That's a huge, huge piece. And I feel like, one of the blocks that what I was asking you about, one of the blocks I feel too, Joe, is patience.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to sit in a space, figure out what the heck is going on, and then being able to sit in a space and be patient to allow someone to either process or relay what they're experiencing.
Yeah.
And let it all sink in.
Right.
Realizing that authentic communication doesn't happen in a day.
Right.
It doesn't. It's practice.
Yeah. That patience can be really hard. That patience is something that I got a client right after this. We've been unpacking for him, and surprise, surprise, patience for people on a deep level of compassion and love is something that's up for me right now. So,
What do you mean? How so?
well, I live in this state. It's funny, me and him are very similar. I live in this state where I had an Enneagram assessment recently. Familiar with Enneagram?
No, what is that?
Different. It's different. It's not personality typing per se, but it's different. It's patterns that we learn that show up in our personality, and they're really core to who we are, right? So, for example, I'm an 8, which is a challenger. When the challenger is expressing consciously, maturely, in a healthy way, they're the helper, the healer, right? Which is number 2. So like there's this system where there's this interconnectedness, but you have a primary way of being, right? And there's all kinds of, there's the enthusiast, there's, I don't think it's called perfectionist, but like the achiever and things like, so, but anyway, I'm sitting there and I had this assessment, but this guy's been doing this for like 20, 30 years. He's a genius at it. And one of the things he said was, you're really conscious of power. And I was like, oh man, I don't care who's in power. And he's like, no, like people's power. I'm like, oh yes, I'm highly conscious of power. I'm highly conscious of the power that we all possess. In fact, I stake a lot of my mission in my life on wanting to help folks feel empowered. So what that means is if I love you, Paul, which I do, I fucking want to see you stand up and stand into your power. And I want you to give your gifts to the world. And I want you to learn the skills that you're here to learn. I want you to have great relationships. I don't want you to give up on yourself. And I want the best for you. I want you in your power. But what that means is, shit, I'm not always that patient. Sometimes I'm in place of judgment. Rather than having the patience to go, okay, I love him. He'll step into his power when the time is right. He'll ask for my help when the time. If I'm being unconscious, I want you to be where I want you to be now.
Oh, Lord.
When I'm being really loving and at my best self,
Yes.
I see your power, and I still love the place you're at right now. And I'm just
Mm.
okay with it, and I'm patient. But it's a task. It's hard. It's hard.
That's, you know what? Dang, man. God, thank you so much for that. Thank you for sharing that truth, brother. Because, oh, man. You know, it brings up for me that patience piece of releasing expectation.
Mm-hmm.
And dang, that just took me back to something in a meditation I was experiencing because, I also I'm connected with another men's group, and last month the conversation was around impatience,
Mm.
and it's some younger guys, man, younger than me. I'm the oldest in the group and stuff. I feel like long in the tooth,
But
but
you're only like 27. I don't understand. It's a
20,
young group, man. Okay.
29. But yeah, yeah. So it's interesting because it was about releasing the expectation. Like, okay, so especially, okay, we're talking about intimacy, getting vulnerable to find out, well, what is that about? Why do I get so impatient? And you just hit it right square on the head, man. I want this person to be where they are at a certain place. And that's where relationships can go awry,
Oh
because
my God.
we can say, oh, well, we should be certain place. We should be here. Or like, why aren't you in this situation? Why aren't you the person that you used to be? We
Mm.
have this expectation on another person that they're
Yeah.
supposed to be something. And my work is releasing the expectation. Hey, you're gonna be, you're gonna be. And listen, when you get there, you get there. Listen, I may be there, I may not. I don't know. That's the gem, man. Because if I release all expectations, now I can truly be with the person.
Right. And here's a huge block for intimacy. And I don't know if I know my way around this, but I do know ways to bring consciousness to it, right? For myself, for clients.
Hit me.
A big block is what something you just came up with is my expectation for you to be a certain person, for you to be a certain
Mm-hmm.
person that I might have projected upon you before I knew you deeply.
Ding, ding.
Right. So there's that one. The other one that came up when I was listening to you is another thing that really blocks our intimacy in relationships. Again, it doesn't matter if it's business partnership, friendships, whatever, what we're doing, right? Like
Right.
love relationships, is I somehow decided I knew who you were and I expect you to stay that way. That's another one, right? Or the third branch, which tends to be my branch, which is like, I know who you are, but I expect you to keep ascending and expanding and evolving. Right. And where the fuck you at, right?
Right.
So these are huge blocks to intimacy. This is me relating to a story, an imagination, a fantasy about the past, about who I think someone is, about someone's future, as opposed to being in an experience of being in the moment with them, being present with where they're at right now, being connected to their truth, to their experience, to their energy in the moment and their emotion in the moment, rather than this picture I paint of myself or of them, right, for me. And then what it means about me. And the thing with impatience, the impatience, now this is why we need to talk about the tools that we have learned, that we teach people, whether it be in mankind stuff, whether it be in our individual consulting coaching, around clearing projections, right? Because if I'm really doing my work and I'm being intimate with self, when I'm impatient with others that I love, it's because I'm in a deep pocket of impatience about where I'm at. It's because I might relate at a very core level, even though I've done tons of work and I try and move away from this, a place of like, not enough yet. It's hard for me to fall on not enough, but I'll personally fall on not enough yet all the time, right? Yeah. And so if I'm operating from that place around myself, at some level, I'm not conscious. I'm putting that on others all the time. And then I'm very aware of power, but then I start to get more aware of the power you're not expressing, right? And I start to get out of my own power because now I'm not loving you from the place of like sovereign, from whatever, lover, father, whatever you want to call it here, that deep connection, brother, whatever it is.
Right.
So
you're not coming from your rooted place.
Not from the root. not from the wholeness.
Yeah.
Not from. So there's a lot, I'm wondering, and what's happening for me right now is maybe this is my ego talking, but I think we're hitting this at a pretty big level, pretty deep level.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that wants to drop back, pull back and say, maybe some people listening here, it doesn't matter what your gender is, right? Men, women, whoever, just basic capacity to be somewhat vulnerable is huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what we can do with the few minutes we have left to bring this to a place of value for people who maybe they're just learning to express vulnerability. Maybe they don't even know how to move into it to get deeper intimacy with self and others. It's still new for them. I feel like we're talking to people who've been like doing the work, whatever that is, for years in a way. At this level, we're relating in the moment, So that's a good one, man. What would you say to someone just starting out, like a new guy, a new woman who's just going, all right, well, they're not new, but they're new to the idea of, okay, I need to be more vulnerable so I can have intimacy.
My first advice, or my first piece of guidance, be present. Be present. Get to learn, understand, what are your thoughts? What are your beliefs? People want to rush and go into this next level of stuff, and they're not coming from the rooted place, man. And that's knowing self. Like, be present. And that could be just not like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. It could just be like, wow, what am I feeling right now? This is a question to themselves. Writing something down in a journal.
Yeah.
Start there. And things will open up. More guides will come your way. Start by getting present with what's happening inside, what's happening in your heart, your mind, and your body. That'll be my first starting point. What about for you? What would you say?
So people could start experiencing vulnerability and learning to express it. I would say there's a few things. The first I would say is get clear on what feels vulnerable for you to share about who you are. So like, maybe start to think about, like, what don't I want someone who I'm close with? What don't I want my wife, husband, my friend to know about me? And if it's true about who I am, like, why is that something I want to hide? Like, get to know it. Why is it something I want to hide? What do I think is true about that? Is it true? And then start to look at it like, the reality is, if you open up to this person, challenge yourself. What would happen? Would I really lose them like I think I might? You're going to think about the thing you don't want people to know about you. And you're going to think, well, if they know this about me, they're not going to love me. They're not going to like me. They might hate me. They're going to leave me. They're not going to provide the resources that I want from them. Right? These are the things that we think. Is that true? If your wife finds out that you've been heavy into porn, is it true she won't love you? Will she be hurt? Maybe.
Right.
But is it true? Can you say that? Is it true? Right? And those are deep.
Is it true?
Right. Is it going to be true? The other thing I want to say is figure out who is someone you can practice with. Like, is it time for a therapist? Is it time for a coach? Is it time to have that one close friend that you've known since high school and you guys do talk about all kinds of shit? To get in touch with them once a week and go, okay, here's the thing I want to talk about that's hard for me to talk about this week. Get to practice. This is one of the things that I love about personal growth work, why I do my men's groups, why I have a coach. Coach, I'm very vulnerable with people. I'm very open. I'll talk about sexual dysfunction on the fucking internet and put it out there about myself, right? Or whatever. But when I rehired this coach I'm working with now, working with him before, first thing he said, I will work with you. I want more vulnerability than the past. Right away, it's like, I want more vulnerability than I've seen from you. So get someone in your life that you can really practice with, that you can go deep with, because you can't just jump out. It's like anything. You can't just jump out of the playing field and be hitting 3-pointers and dunking over people. You gotta get your practice in. Sorry, Allen Iverson. We got to practice vulnerability. If you want to if you want to get to the next round of the playoffs,
practice.
Get someone you can practice with.
Yeah.
Who can go even deeper than you, maybe, and so it can draw that out of you.
Yeah. That's what's up, brother.
This is when you edit this, when you put my email at the bottom right now. That's when
Ding, in the flash, like expansion. Love that, brother. Product placement. Product placement.
It's truth for me. It's a truth. How do you change? Put yourself in the scenario, in the environment, with the structures, the systems, the people. It's going to help it. Like I don't have a problem plugging my stuff, your stuff, because we need it. We need it. All right. I think it's time for a wrap, huh?
Wrap it up, man. All right, listen, Joe, you want to wrap us up, man?
Yeah, what's the number one takeaway that you'd want to share? Like if someone just tuned in now, it's like, all right, here's what I really want to say about this topic in like a couple sentences.
If you're going to be intimate with another, get into seeing yourself first in all ways.
Right.
That's my takeaway.
Uh-huh. That selfishness embodies and allows the generosity of heart and spirit to come out.
Self-centered. Yep.
Ooh, you better center yourself, right? For love and intimacy. Well, this has been great. I'll leave us out here. If you have enjoyed this, share it, comment. Paul's going to put down there the ways you can get in touch with us. We want to get in touch with you. We want to help you change and shift your life in any way possible, whether it be personal, professional, health, relationships, right? And, whenever you hear this, have a wonderful day. Be present with yourself. Gain that true intimacy with yourself today.
Yeah,
and,
peace. See you next time, Joe. Peace.